Driven by a mix of skepticism and reckless curiosity, I decided to launch a dangerous experiment. This project would certainly terrify any seasoned wealth manager who values stability and long-term growth. I committed to building a stock portfolio based exclusively on the most dubious, high-energy financial advice. These pieces of advice were circulating rapidly across TikTok, promising paths to immense and sudden wealth. My criteria for selection were simple, yet they were designed to invite absolute financial chaos daily. If a creator promised a get-rich-quick scheme, I immediately allocated a fixed portion of my savings. If they guaranteed a 100-fold return, I blindly followed their lead without performing any due diligence. If they showed a volatile meme coin with excessive emojis, I invested my capital into it. The initial phase of this experiment was a chaotic blur of impulsive and highly irrational trades. I navigated through a landscape ranging from obscure penny stocks to various highly speculative digital assets. These assets lacked any underlying value, yet I purchased them with a strange dark sense of. As I followed these viral trends, the thrill of the gamble became increasingly and dangerously palpable. Yet, beneath the surface of this excitement, the underlying logic of my portfolio was entirely non-existent. I meticulously documented every single trade, tracking each movement with a mixture of dread and fascination. I watched as my account balance fluctuated wildly, mirroring the erratic nature of the social media. These trends dictated my financial future, pulling my net worth in directions that defied economic reality. The screen glowed with red and green numbers, shifting faster than I could process the data. Every notification on my phone signaled another potential fortune or a swift descent into total ruin. I felt like a gambler in a casino, where the rules were written by anonymous strangers. The influencers spoke with such manufactured confidence that I almost believed their hollow, desperate financial promises. My savings account dwindled as I poured money into assets that existed only as internet memes. The sheer absurdity of the situation was not lost on me, even as I continued buying. I was trapped within an algorithmic loop, feeding the very machine that was draining my wealth. Each trade felt like a leap of faith into a dark, bottomless pit of digital speculation. I ignored the warnings of traditional finance, choosing instead to embrace the madness of the crowd. The market was a reflection of collective hysteria, and I was its most willing, foolish participant. My portfolio became a graveyard of failed projects, yet I kept searching for the next winner. The thrill of the gamble was a drug, masking the reality of my rapidly evaporating life savings. I documented the chaos, noting how each viral video triggered a surge in these worthless coins. The nonsensical nature of these trends was the only constant in my increasingly volatile financial life. Every morning, I woke up to a new landscape of digital wreckage and unexpected fleeting gains. The sheer speed of the market cycle made it impossible to maintain any sense of perspective. I found myself refreshing the charts incessantly, hoping for a miracle that never truly arrived. The vibrant colors of the trading app masked the cold, hard truth of my shrinking balance. I was chasing ghosts in the machine, hoping that one viral post would change my life. The reality was far more mundane, characterized by constant losses and a growing sense of dread. Each influencer I followed seemed more convinced of their own genius than the last one. I watched as my initial investment withered away, replaced by a collection of useless digital tokens. The social media algorithm fed me more of the same, trapping me in a feedback loop. I felt the weight of my poor decisions pressing down on me with every passing hour. There was no turning back now, as I had committed fully to this absurd, reckless path. The thrill of the gamble had long since faded, replaced by a cold, hollow realization. I was a spectator to my own financial ruin, watching as the numbers plummeted downward. The internet was a cruel master, demanding constant attention and offering nothing but empty promises. I realized that the game was rigged from the start, designed to exploit my naivety. Every trade I made was another nail in the coffin of my once stable financial future. I looked at the screen and saw only the reflection of a desperate, foolish person. The cycle continued, with new trends emerging to replace the ones that had already failed. I was caught in a whirlpool of speculation, unable to break free from the pull. The digital assets I held were worth less than the time I spent tracking them. I felt a strange detachment from the money, as if it were no longer real. The numbers on the screen were just pixels, disconnected from the life I once knew. I continued to follow the advice, even when I knew it was leading to ruin. The madness had become my new normal, a daily ritual of loss and false hope. I wondered if anyone else was experiencing the same level of financial and mental exhaustion. The silence of my room was broken only by the ping of new notifications. I was alone in this digital experiment, a solitary figure in a vast, uncaring market. The end seemed inevitable, yet I found myself unable to stop the final trades. I braced myself for the final outcome, knowing that the damage was already done. The experiment had reached its conclusion, leaving me with nothing but a harsh lesson. The aftermath of my experiment was as predictable as it was devastating for my bank account. Within weeks, the high-flying assets I had acquired began to collapse under their own artificial height. The market value plummeted, leaving my once promising portfolio in a state of total, utter disarray. The influencers who had once promised me astronomical wealth vanished as quickly as the digital liquidity. Their accounts went dark, leaving me to reconcile with the harsh reality of blatant market manipulation. I felt the sting of betrayal, realizing the true dangers of these insular algorithmic echo chambers. This journey served as a sobering, painful lesson on the inherent fragility of social media-driven finance. I watched the charts bleed red, proving that the loudest voices are rarely the most informed. Desperation gave way to clarity as I began to liquidate the remnants of my failed investments. Each transaction felt like a final admission of defeat, a closing chapter on my reckless curiosity. I walked away with only a small fraction of my initial capital, feeling significantly lighter now. However, I gained a wealth of insight into the predatory nature of these online financial trends. The experiment ultimately validated my original skepticism, confirming that true financial stability is never found online. It cannot be found in a viral video, nor in the hollow promises of internet strangers. I sat before my glowing monitor, watching the final sell order execute with a quiet click. The screen displayed a balance that was a mere shadow of my former, hopeful financial standing. I closed the browser tabs, silencing the constant stream of notifications that had dictated my life. The silence in my room felt heavy, contrasting sharply with the chaotic noise of the markets. I realized that wealth is not a game of chance played by influencers in short videos. It is a slow, deliberate process that requires patience rather than the rush of viral trends. My bank account was smaller, but my perspective on the digital world had grown much larger. I looked at my phone, seeing the same colorful icons that had once tempted my greed. They now appeared as nothing more than digital traps designed to harvest the attention of fools. I deleted the trading apps, feeling a strange sense of relief wash over my tired mind. The experiment was over, and the cost of my education was written in red ink numbers. Yet, the clarity I possessed now was worth far more than the money I had lost. I walked to the window, looking out at the steady, unchanging world outside my small apartment. The sun was setting, casting long shadows across the floor where I had paced for weeks. I took a deep breath, letting go of the anxiety that had defined my recent days. The viral gamble had failed, but I had successfully reclaimed my own sense of financial agency. The screen flickered one last time, reflecting my weary face against the dark, empty glass. I pushed the chair back, the wooden legs scraping harshly against the hardwood floor beneath me. My hands trembled slightly as I unplugged the power cable, severing the link to the web. The room felt colder now, stripped of the artificial glow that had illuminated my late nights. I thought back to the initial thrill of the first deposit, so naive and full of hope. It seemed like a lifetime ago, a different version of myself chasing ghosts in the machine. The algorithm had fed me exactly what I wanted, leading me down a path of ruin. I recognized the pattern now, a cycle of manufactured urgency designed to bypass rational thought processes. Every notification had been a siren song, pulling me deeper into the depths of financial madness. I stood in the center of the room, feeling the weight of the silence pressing down. It was a stark contrast to the constant buzzing notifications that had haunted my every waking. I realized that my pursuit of quick riches had blinded me to the value of time. Time was the only asset I could never recover, yet I had squandered it on trends. The red ink on the screen was a permanent scar, a reminder of my own foolishness. But as the darkness deepened outside, I felt a strange, unexpected sense of profound peace. The obsession had finally broken, leaving behind a hollow space that I could now fill. I walked toward the kitchen, the floorboards creaking under my feet in the quiet, empty house. A glass of water felt like a luxury, a simple pleasure I had ignored for weeks. I leaned against the counter, watching the city lights flicker in the distance like dying stars. They were just lights, not symbols of wealth or indicators of some hidden secret success. The world was not a series of charts and graphs, despite what the internet claimed. It was tangible, physical, and entirely indifferent to the frantic movements of the digital markets. I felt my pulse slow down, matching the steady rhythm of the night outside my window. The lessons were harsh, but they were mine, earned through the fire of my own mistakes. I would never again look to a screen for the secrets of a prosperous, happy life. The screen was just a tool, and I had finally learned how to use it properly. I turned away from the window, ready to embrace the simplicity of a life lived offline. The past few weeks were a fever dream, a temporary lapse in my own better judgment. I walked toward my bed, feeling the exhaustion of the journey finally taking its toll now. Tomorrow would be a new day, grounded in reality and free from the digital noise.